Yeah. So that's the first thing is don't be the idiot who goes and like creates unnecessary expenses. Like your housing's paid for, your food is paid for, your medical's paid for, everything's paid for. Put money into your thrift savings plan or save it or something to invest. Don't go, ooh, I make $1,000 a month. I can afford a $700 car payment and $100 for Xbox Live. And now I've got $200 left over. Okay, well, I'm going to eat Taco Bell for half and drink the other half. Like,
Welcome to the Military Bottom Line Podcast, where we learn from veterans and those currently serving how to make the most out of a military contract. We're here to motivate, inspire, and help you leverage your service to positively impact you professionally, personally, and financially during your military career and beyond. Welcome to another episode of the Military Bottom Line Podcast. I am very grateful for you guys tuning in to the show and listening to Dave's story this morning or afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. I started following Dave on Military Millionaire a couple months back and really enjoyed his stories, his content as he helps to assist military individuals with their personal finances and more specifically becoming millionaires through real estate. But I hope you guys enjoy this show where Dave kind of breaks down the best ways to get involved in real estate and how he, went from being a young boot that made poor financial decisions to coming back from that and really pursuing entrepreneurial efforts that are doing well for himself. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. David Pere. Oh, dang it, dude. I just jacked it up.
yeah, Pere.
David Pere, the military millionaire himself. Thanks for joining me, man.
Hey, what's going on, Jason? How's it going?
Not a whole lot.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to have you here as I've been following you for a number of months now, and it's been cool to kind of see you grow and see your content come alive, and definitely looking forward to kind of diving into your military career a little bit and seeing like how the heck you ended up in the Marine Corps and 12 years later, still pursuing a military career. Yeah,
it's I've survived so far, right?
That's all you can do sometimes, right?
Yeah, feels that way, but no, it's been good. It's been really good.
What's your backstory? I mean, what age? How'd you end up joining the military in the first place? The Marine Corps.
Joined in 2008. I was 18. I tried to sign everything when I was 17. My parents wouldn't have it. So on my 18th birthday, I walked back in the recruiter's office, signed the paperwork, and went to MEPS. And a few months later, I was off to boot camp. I didn't have money for school. I didn't know what I wanted to study if I went to school. I really didn't like school. I was a freaking terrible student, the normal. And then I was in Arkansas, and I was like, get me out of here. I want to leave. I want to see the world.
Yeah.
So what's better than the military? And when I talked to a bunch of different recruiters, but the Marine Corps was the flashiest, I guess. I don't know. They dressed the nicest. They were the most professional, and obviously they were the most challenging. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna join the Marine Corps. This could be awesome. And then I got into logistics. So I'm a truck driver by trade for the Marine Corps, and I've gotten to do a little bit of everything. I've been in Japan, a whole bunch of other countries. I've touched base in Thailand, Philippines, Guam, Korea, Germany, Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan. And then I've been stationed in San Diego, Missouri, Hawaii, and back in San Diego. So got to see a little bit of the world, got to have some fun. And yeah, it's been a good time.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've had a busy 12 years so far.
Yeah, it's been good. It's kind of slowed down a little bit the last few years. So it's not as much fun. I do more office. They do this thing in the military where you get promoted and they like promote you into an office, and they think that that's what you want. I guess I don't know. It's like no. I want to go back out and do all the fun stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So then it sounds like you joined, but I mean, there wasn't like one specific thing that you were looking for. You just kind of.
Oh no, I had no idea. I just wanted to like travel and have some adventures. Okay. I originally thought I was gonna do 4 years, and then I'd have, by then, hopefully have figured out what I wanted to do for school, and I would have the GI Bill to pay for it. And then at the end of 4 years, I was like, freaking deployment was awesome. I want to go back. Woo! And there was nothing you could have told me that would have been worth going and changing and sitting in a school. So
yeah, I feel that. I got out eager to go to school, out of active duty, eager to go to school, and like, yeah, school sucks. It doesn't suck any less in college than it did in high school. But that's just
yeah,
me.
I mean, and it's your fault too if you suck now, so you can't even like be mad.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
it's totally true.
oh man.
Yeah.
I have my associate's degree. Like I've done that while I'm in, but I don't even know if I'm gonna. To this point, I'm like, I don't really know that I need a bachelor's degree for like building my own business, and I don't really care. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I'll do some more school. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you on that. So then, so yeah, I mean, you've traveled the world. You re-enlisted. So you enjoyed your first contract. Would you say that you, to an extent, yeah. Would you say that you got what you wanted out of the military so far?
100%. Yeah, I've done. I mean, I've gotten a ton out of the military. And I mean, that first 4 years was cram packed with, adventure and excitement. And I got to see 11, 12 countries. Spent 7 months in Afghanistan on a deployment. Did a lot of really fun, adventurous man type things that are everything you could ever have wanted to have done. And obviously some things that weren't so much fun, but
Sure.
definitely got what I was looking for out of the military. I mean, the deployment honestly is why I re-enlisted, because I loved that side of the military so much, like getting to do that and having like a real purpose in life and fulfillment and adventure and excitement, whether it's a good adventure or good excitement or not. It's just, that's what you join for. Right. And like that side of the Marine Corps, I loved it so much that I re-enlisted as soon as the opportunity came back and requested to go to this unit that deployed. At the time, they were the most deployed unit in the Marine Corps for Motive T. And then that just happened to be as things were kind of winding down, and I got pulled in for recruiting duty and no more deployments. But
yeah. So, I mean, if if you could stay constantly deployed, you'd dig it more than you do now.
Yeah, it's interesting how things change though, right? Because at this point, like we were talking about this last night, I had some guys over barbecuing, and it's like at this point, maybe not, because now I have, the side business and a family, and I've got a lot of goals for myself.
Yeah.
But a year ago, when I was just kind of starting piddling around with that stuff and hadn't set all these goals, hadn't set my mind on getting back home, 100%. I mean, I was volunteering for opportunities to go to Iraq, go to Afghanistan, to take like lead on deployments. That side of the Marine Corps is, for me, that's what I enjoy, right? Like I'm the weirdo who would rather spend a week out in the field in a sleeping bag with a bunch of dudes like eating MREs and shooting guns than in an office.
Yeah.
Even if you work ridiculous hours, you don't sleep and you don't actually have any fun, it's like it's still fun. So
sure. Is it safe to say that at that point, I mean, people get made fun of for that because like they're drinking too much of the Kool-Aid, were you drinking the Kool-Aid kind of thing when you had that mindset?
I feel like the people who say that only did the training and never got to do the actual mission set.
For sure.
So like most people I know who've been deployed, even on really rough deployments, would voluntarily go back for a number of reasons. And even if they had a terrible deployment, I know a lot of people who would still go back. And a lot of those reasons are, the sense of camaraderie with your team, the sense of purpose, right? Like as men, women too, but as men, we need a sense of purpose in life. And there's no clearer purpose that I've ever experienced than when you're deployed and you know exactly what you're doing, exactly why you're there. You're with your platoon that you're super close with, and you've got, like you wake up, you do this, you go back, there's a lot of things about that are very fulfilling.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know a lot of people who would absolutely go back. And I mean, maybe not the field, right? Nobody actually likes the field, but what the field translates to, I think that is what makes it worth it. Like, obviously, if you were to say, hey, man, would you rather like work 20 hours every day this week in the dirt with no shower and eat MREs, or like sit in your office and go home early enough that you get to see your kids? Like, okay, yeah, the office sounds better, except that the office is Groundhog's Day, and the field usually translates to a mission, a purpose, and a goal, and you're going to go do something. So it's like, yeah.
There's oftentimes, I mean, especially like working a civilian job now, there's that pull between like really enjoying your job, but maybe the quality of life sucks versus like better quality of life, but the job is miserable, you know, like that constant push and pull between the two. It's hard to find that balance for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that there is one.
Yeah. I mean, we can be optimistic, but
Yeah. Well, I read this whole book about like, anyway, but essentially like men and their need for purpose or whatever, like they don't like a woman would want her man to turn them down to go follow his purpose type. Like that was kind of the premise of the book. And it went into way, it's called the Way of the Superior Man or whatever. And it goes into way more detail than that. But like the whole idea that like, you don't want to be balanced as a man. You want to go all in on whatever your purpose is in life. So like that is where we're happiest. It's where we thrive.
Makes me think of the movie 300, where like it's just normal for the men to like go out for, you know, what was it, months, years, you know?
Yeah, those dudes weren't having fun, you know, in the gates of fire. Well, I mean, not until the actual fun started, right?
Different
but like
kind of fun.
Yeah, but like they were fulfilled, and they wouldn't have traded it for the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I mean, I've definitely met people where deployments can, you know, like for you, the deployment was the upside, and for other people, the deployment was the downside and the deciding factor for getting out. So it's interesting how like one variable can, you know, sway it both ways. But so now you're working on, you know, I know you're the military millionaire, and you've been working on that, and like, it's been cool to see it develop. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know you've found some pretty awesome opportunities within the military. And like, you know, ones that people can kind of take advantage of and emulate. What have been your favorite opportunities to this point?
There's all kinds of unique opportunities in the military that people just don't take. I mean, for one, school, right? Like I mentioned, I have my associate's degree. I didn't pay for that. I just did that at night periodically, like 2 classes at a time over a couple of years. And I have an associate's degree that I didn't pay for. And frankly, I don't care about, but a lot of people care about those. And it was super easy to get. But most people spend their time like playing Call of Duty at night and drinking or watching sports instead of doing any school. Especially now we're not like deploying, most people have the opportunity to do that. So, I mean, there's that. There's a lot of things though. I have 3 of the apprentice, you know, U.S. MAPS apprenticeship, U.S. military apprenticeship program certificates, like journeyman certs that you literally just get from logging in once a week and documenting how many hours you worked in your job field. And then at the end, your CO signs off on it. And the Department of Labor sends you these journeyman certificates that are like full on apprenticeships to say, hey, look, I know how to do. So I have a computer and Excel document one. I have a counseling, like professional counseling from being a recruiter. And then I have a transportation one. So like all of those would help me if I ever wanted to get into transportation or career counseling or, you know, just basic like computer jobs. I can be like, hey, look, I've got 4,000 hours of experience certified by the Department of Labor. So, I mean, like those are little things that nobody even focuses on, but
that I think US MAP doesn't get talked about enough, because pretty much anybody, you know, while it might not be like, you know, an OSHA cert or some kind of cert that's automatically going to get you a 6-figure job, there are certifications that you can get that are kind of just reinforce your resume, you know? And US MAP is definitely one. Like if you're going to be doing the work anyways, you might as well be logging it and getting a cert for it.
Yeah. Well, and if you're even remotely decent at your job, you mentioned OSHA. I didn't get to go to OSHA class because, you know, this whole not flu thing. I don't want to say the word because you'll put this on YouTube and they'll hit you for it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But this whole 2020 not flu thing happened and the course got canceled. But I've done mishap investigation and ground safety management. And then I've also done Lean Six Sigma, the green belt and the yellow belt and green belt. So like all these different random certs that like Lean Six Sigma is a very good paying job on the outside. Safety is a very good paying job on the outside. I've also done the command financial specialist, which kind of leads into where we're going with this conversation. So those are just some things that I want to throw out there because they're all just simple opportunities that anybody and their mother could take in the military, but nobody like, and Lean Six Sigma is fun. If you're listening to this, like you should ask, hey, can I go do this Lean Six Sigma? Because you literally get to play with Legos and build a catapult
I
to like for like a week-long course. You're like,
I did
the
the
first
same
one you
thing.
play with Legos, and the second one you like build a freaking catapult, and that's like your job for a week. So
And yeah,
pretty
what's
sweet.
crazy is that you get like basically a TDY kind of thing. Like you're still getting paid to not go to the office or go to wherever you normally go, and you're gonna go learn something, get a certification that you can put in your resume. It's crazy. I mean, no other job, with the exception of maybe a few, are gonna be able to give you that opportunity to take those courses. So
100%.
yeah, I didn't even know that Camp Eldon had like a business, I don't know, like a business office, business development office where you could go and take classes and like talk to mentors and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, they've got, and they're getting even better. Like I go to TRS next week, the transition seminar.
Nice.
And they have different versions now. So like the one that I'm going to is an entrepreneur track, quote unquote. So the last 2 days, the Small Business Administration is going to be there teaching about like funding and loan opportunities and stuff
Really?
which is really interesting to me because I'm like, yeah, I've done a lot of homework, but I'm going to be the asshole in the back of the class who's like got this really specific question like, hey, what about this? And they're going to be like, you might want to, no, like, aren't you, so I'm hoping to get some valuable insight out of that as far as myself buying an office building when I get out.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, that's so true. TRS, going through it next week, it's so odd because, like you said, you're going to be the a-hole in the back saying, like, asking you specific questions. There's going to be so many people in that class that are just trying to get through it. And, like, everything, all this gold that's being, given to them is going in one ear and out the other. And, man, it's crazy the number of times that people just kind of like fall asleep during this week-long seminar. That so much opportunity being
what a mess about. Could literally change the course of your life, right? But
yeah. I mean, of all the
finances,
of all the mandatory things the Marine Corps makes you do, it's the most valuable one.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm excited. I tried to go a year ago just to like do it twice before I got out, but
it's all. I know that I'm sure they've improved it, since I've done it a couple years ago. If you go earlier, there are additional TDYs that you can get like within that last year. It's like, you can go get a Microsoft cert. That's like a 6 months TDY that if you waited until the last month to go to TRS, then you're not going to have that opportunity.
Yeah, I fully intend to take advantage of the Skill Bridge program and go do a 6-month internship.
Nice.
I'm kind of hoping that I can like find some way to intern for myself, but I don't think that's I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, that sounds.
Although I'm actually getting my own company set up as a employer so that I can hopefully have some people transitioning out come learn real estate through me. So
cool. That'd be legit.
Yeah, it's cool.
Good for you. So what is let's talk about that a little bit. Like real estate, military real estate. What are the opportunities, and like what do you like to direct people towards as a either young military individual or a young veteran that's like kind of trying to get into it?
Well, the first thing I feel like I must mention about military anything finance is when you join the military, you basically achieve financial freedom like immediately, right? Like if you had debt, like high interest debt, the SCRA, Service Member Civil Relief Act, cuts it down to 6% per like federal mandate. So like your debt all got minimized if you did have debt.
Does that happen automatically though?
No, you got well, it's supposed to, but in most cases you just have to like send in a letter saying, hey, I joined the military or whatever, or just call and contact them, and they might ask for like an ID or something to show proof. But
so you send in a letter to whoever owns your debt, essentially.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So whatever bank has, like if you have a 12% interest credit card, they'll cut it to 6%.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's freaking sweet. And you can, a lot of banks will actually do that, like even for debt that you got while in the military, but that's not like, they're not required to. It's just some of them are cool. In fact, at one point, there was a company that had a personal loan. You could take out the personal loan, and if you sent them a memo saying you were in the military, they would essentially give you a 0% interest rate to pay back the personal loan.
Wow.
But they too many service members found that out, and they no longer offer that personal loan, let alone the 0%
Camaro or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing is don't be the idiot who goes and like creates unnecessary expenses. Like your housing's paid for, your food is paid for, your medical's paid for, everything's paid for. put money into your thrift savings plan or save it or something to invest. Don't go, ooh, I make $1,000 a month. I can afford a $700 car payment and $100 for Xbox Live. And now I've got $200 left over. Okay, well, I'm going to eat Taco Bell for half and drink the other half. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, now I have no money. I'm broke, and I blame the military for not paying me enough. Well, no, you literally just spent over half your paycheck on a car.
Yeah.
And so don't go buy the recurring expenses, right? Like save some of that money. Make it that if you're going to do that, okay, great, but I save $200 a month before I blow money on stupid stuff.
Yeah. So many people complain like, oh, military E2, E3, we don't get paid jack, but you don't have to pay for anything. Nothing, like you don't need anything additional than what the military is going to give you to survive. So
I'm convinced there's no better career you could possibly find outside of high school.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I firmly believe that if done correctly, like you can jump socioeconomic classes from what your past 100%. Generations have been. And it's the opportunity is unlike any other. But
yeah, and you have this wonderful thing called the VA loan that is a 100% leveraged mortgage, meaning you can put zero down and they don't have a limit anymore, and you can buy crazy amounts of real estate with this thing. I know a single sergeant who bought a $1.2 million fourplex out here, and he gets paid $600 a month to live in it. So he's saving his $2,800 a month housing allowance on top of owning this thing. And every month he pays down $2,000 on the mortgage. So his tenants are paying down $2,000 on the mortgage. He's pocketing his $2,800 in BAH. He's getting paid $600 from the tenants. So he's saving $3,400 a month, and he's not paying to live anywhere. So that's another $2,000 or $3,000 that he would have had to spend in San Diego. And ultimately over time, if assuming that property goes up in value at all, great. But if it doesn't, if it stayed the exact same dollar amount in 30 years when he pays it off, he's worth $1.2 million.
Yeah, it's crazy. We just, my wife and I just used the VA loan for our first duplex, doing the house hacking thing.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I think you'd have to find, if you're intending on house hacking, like you'd have to look for a bad deal, really. I mean, house hacking, it pretty much always works out if you're going to be there for a long term. And so
it's my favorite strategy for anybody. For so many reasons. I mean, you learn how to landlord, you learn how depreciation works, you learn how rental properties work. It's also not as scary. Like saying you're going to buy an investment property is scary and people will talk you out of it. But saying you're going to buy a house to live in, nobody will talk you out of it. And it's not scary because that's just what people do. So it's an investment, but you are living in it. So it's easy. But then, you use the VA loan. You don't pay any money down. You get an incredible interest rate right now, like 2.75, 2.25, 3, anything under 3.5%, and you're going to end up winning over inflation within a matter of like 3 years. It's just nuts. Like debt is so cheap right now, and I say this to say like leverage is obviously scary, but to some people, but like don't go out. So don't take some crazy payment on that you can't afford, and make sure you have some reserves and some cash and your finances are in order. But the VA loan is an incredible opportunity.
So I'm curious, did you when we compare and contrast the sergeant that just used the VA loan to buy that 1 million plus
monstrous fourplex, property,
bravo to them, compared to the individuals that are, putting out that $700 car payment a month and eating and drinking their paychecks away. Have you lived both ends of the spectrum as a young boot, kind of like, were you making those mistakes, or have you always been like pretty?
Oh, it was fucking terrible.
Okay. So
I didn't buy a brand new car. I've never bought a brand new car.
Right.
I have bought a brand new Harley, and a
just like as much as a car
25-year-old truck, and a gun that I can't even take to any of the states I'm stationed in. That's like $4,000, and blown a ton of money on food, booze, and dating. I had nothing to show for my first 4 years financially. I mean, I came back from a deployment with $16,000 and went, ooh, how fast can we lose this?
So what flipped the switch for you?
Someone was trying to get me into Amway, like to sell products through kind of a multi-level marketing thing. And they handed me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I remember telling him like, I don't read books, man. Like, nah, Marines,
Yeah.
and he pulled a CD out of his pocket and was like, well, here, put it in your car and listen to it while you drive then, because I was a recruiter. So he knew that I drove to high schools all day. So I was in the car all the time on the road. And so I started listening to this book and I was totally hooked.
Interesting.
Like absolutely. So it's, for those of you who don't know, Rich Dad Poor Dad is it's just a parable, but it does a extremely good job. It's a super simple concept, but it does a very good job of taking an extremely boring subject and making it something that you'll enjoy reading. Yeah. And it'll completely change your perspective on money. And then you just kind of go down this rabbit hole with his books. And I dug into the biggerpockets.com, the biggest forum for real estate in the world. And I started reading their books. And then within like 2 or 3 months of reading that first book, it was like the stars aligned. My apartment lease was up. So I either had to buy something or stay in my apartment, and simultaneously my Harley got totaled. So I had an insurance settlement and I was like, I can afford this duplex. Wow. And so, I bought a duplex. I lived in one half, and I actually only lived in the one half for like a month. And then I got orders and moved to Hawaii, and I was like, well, all right. But as soon as I realized that I went from paying like $550 a month for a 2-bed, 1-bath apartment to owning a duplex that cost me $615 a month for 2-bed, 1-bath apartments effectively. And the other tenant paid $425. So I was only paying, like not even half of what I'd been paying to live in the apartment, not including principal and everything else. And then when I moved out, it cash flowed. And within that first year, it paid for itself for my down payment. Wow. And I was just totally hooked. I was like, wow, this thing, 4 years now, every year it's paid me back what I put into it originally. And it's gone up in value a lot. And it's just a huge win.
Dude, Rich Dad Poor Dad has got to be like the biggest catalyst for people changing their direction financially.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fantastic book that, I don't know, I'm all about the Commandant's reading list in some areas, but I'm like, why are there no like practical, financial education books on here? I think the positive impact that would come from Marines having some legitimate financial direction would be good across the board. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not the military's job, and it's not necessarily in their best interest to make entrepreneurs, but at the same time, those are the kinds of people you want in the military. Like if they were to, like you take the 4-hour work week, which will completely change your thought process on time. And you'll go from typical, I don't even want to say service member, just W-2 hourly job or salary job. Sorry. Like a typical salary job. People think like, oh, how can I get the least amount of work done? So that work is fun and easy, but I don't get fired. Like I do less work than I probably should because I'm hanging out at the water cooler, but enough work that they're not going to fire me, and then I get my salary. Yeah. Like you're not incentivized to work more. Yeah. But you flip that script, and all of a sudden the 4-hour work week is teaching you how to do like the most amount of stuff in a set hour or whatever, and you'll become, so much more productive.
So, with the VA loan, I feel like there are traps, just like anything else. I was reading about Stars and Stripes, how the VA no longer owns the website gibill.com. They didn't have an automatic renewal on it, so mild oversight. So they're concerned about like whoever owns it now, just somebody bought it back in August, them using it to scam, veterans. And so I've heard of like shady mortgage lenders for the VA loan kind of thing. Like what direction would you give to somebody, a young Marine or somebody in the military that's looking to take advantage of their VA loan? What's the best place to get started with that?
All right. Well, I'm off the record. There's some companies that I would not recommend you go through. Veterans United, Navy Federal, not necessarily because they're going to screw you, but they're slow to close, and there might be some additional fees. Like Veterans United, people legitimately think Veterans United is the VA. Like their website looks similar. If you click on anything VA loan, they have an advertisement. Like they're a marketing company, and they're incredible. They do more loans for the VA than anybody else in the nation, and it's because of that. Like literally yesterday, I typed in like VA loan guidelines, trying to get to the website for the VA loan guidelines, va.gov, And the first fourth slots are Veterans United advertisements. And it's like you have to like scroll down through Google to find the actual VA website.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they would have probably answered my question, but people get sucked into thinking anyway. And they're not the best rates. They're not the best service. They have a terrible track record. So, I really like Cross Country Mortgage, and there's a couple other. There's like if you like United Wholesale Mortgage has got some pretty incredible rates right now. But when you go through a broker like that, you're looking at a longer closing time, but you might get a little bit better rate. So it depends on how fast you need to close. In a competitive market like this, my roommate works with Cross Country, and I've seen him close a $750,000 loan in 21 days.
Wow.
I have not heard of anyone else closing a VA loan in under 30 days before. So
yeah.
I'm sure there are people who do it, but I've seen it firsthand and not on just one occasion with Cross Country where he works. So, I mean, the biggest trap would be like, don't fall for advertisements where they advertise like a rate with an asterisk, because what they'll do is if a lender quotes you a rate before seeing all of your personal information, your financial information, and running your credit, for one, that's illegal, but for two, run, because they are promising you something. What they're doing is they're baiting you. They're getting you into their funnel, knowing that when your rate comes back different, you're not going to go to another lender because you've already done all this work. And nobody wants to be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, we'll go through the whole pre-approval process with someone else now. So if someone's quoting you a rate up front, like just screw that, go elsewhere. That'd probably be the biggest thing. And then just watch out for fees. Like, you shouldn't be paying unnecessary fees when it comes to closing a VA loan. There's the funding fee if you're not 10% disabled or have a Purple Heart, but that's minimal. I mean, that's, on a $100,000 loan, you're talking an extra like $20 a month.
Yeah.
And it's like, whatever. You shouldn't be paying 2 or 3% at closing. You should be paying less than that. So, and honestly, like, if you want help with that, shameless self plug, but like, that's like one of the things I do. I help people. I have a kind of a network of agents and lenders across the nation that I'm happy to introduce people to. So, and I try to vet, as much as possible, but what I'm trying to do is get my roommate to lend nationally. Like, he's licensed in 2 states right now. He can lend anywhere, but I'm trying to get him like more licenses. 'Cause I'm like, bro, you're freaking awesome at this, and you should be my just go-to lender for like everybody. But that involves some scaling that I don't know that we're going to have anytime soon. So.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, is the VA loan something every veteran should be using?
Yeah, I think so. 100%. It's the best. So, and here's another piece. If a bank tells you they can't do something with the VA loan, it's most likely a bank overlay, not the actual. So, for example, the VA loan doesn't have a credit score requirement. You could have a 10 and the VA loan, like the Department of Veteran Affairs, doesn't care.
Yeah.
Good luck finding a bank that's going to lend to you with a 10 credit score. But if a bank tells you no at a 680 credit score, I guarantee there's a bank out there that will give you a loan at a 640 credit score. The VA loan doesn't have a debt to income requirement. The VA loan doesn't have a lot of requirements, really. So just know that, if a lender tells you they can't do something, there's probably a lender that can. So that's why I always tell people to shop around a little bit. Yeah, I don't buy into the whole buy a house at every duty station. I think that depends on where you are in market cycles and what you want to do. Like, I wouldn't buy a house if you never want to live there and the market seems to be at its peak and you just like whatever. But I would absolutely buy an investment property anywhere. Like, I didn't buy in San Diego because I was only going to be here for a year. And I was like, I'm not going to be here very long. I don't really want to own a California rental property long distance, and I'm not going to own it long enough to really benefit from owning it. So I rented. But had I been here for 3 years, like known I was going to be here for 3 years, I absolutely would have bought, the property. And I would buy a property as an investment, like a house hack anywhere. And now that the cap is gone, I think there's a lot of opportunities there because you can buy larger properties. So I would say, if you're able to find a good house hack, or you want to stay there long term, or you like the area, or you think you'll be back there again, like, yeah, absolutely, buy a house. But even then, if you're going to buy a house, the VA loan is 100% the way to go. It's the best loan product on the market.
What would you say to somebody, like, if there's a go-getter, new Lance Corporal, somebody young in the military that's like wants to prepare for using the VA loan, starting to get into real estate, but they're young in their career. They don't know what's ahead of them. What are the best steps to prepare themselves, like financially, build up their credit rating without taking out a ridiculous loan for a Camaro or something like that? What are those best steps for those young guys that want to do well moving forward, but aren't ready for that big jump yet?
Well, for one, you alluded to it, but don't buy a expensive car. If you're going to buy a car, buy a used car. Don't buy something that's going to be a massive amount of debt, because your debt to income ratio is important. So if you have a lot of debt, you're limiting how much house you can buy. So don't get into a lot of debt. Buy more affordable cars, like a used car, like 6 to 8 years old. 5 to 10 years old is usually like the best point. The car's already lost a ton of value, but it's still new, and so you're not going to have it's not going to depreciate out from under you. That's like the best time frame, I think, to buy a car. Buy something affordable, reliable, and that isn't going to do anything crazy. Save money, have some money. I suggest the thrift savings plan to everyone. So I'd say 10, 20, 30%, whatever you can afford, put it in there. That actually will count as your cash reserves too. So you can use that money for cash reserves when you buy a property. So if the bank requires you to have money in savings, your thrift savings plan will count.
Oh, really? Can you take it out if you wanted to put down a down payment? Can you take TSP?
There are ways to borrow from your TSP. I don't necessarily recommend it, but you don't need a down payment with the VA loan either. So, doesn't matter. So there's all that. But the other thing with the VA loan that I would say, as far as preparing yourself, would just be learn about real estate. Like, read some basic real estate books so that you understand what you're doing, like the house hacking book or how to invest in real estate or whatever. And just making sure you don't have a ton of expenses and you're saving some money. It's pretty simple, just being decent with your finances.
It is
not blowing all your money every week.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of people make it more complicated than it needs to be. And I appreciate your direction and like read some books kind of thing. Cause I know, I still have to force myself to be a reader. But I just think back to the hurry up and wait time, man, where everybody's scrolling through their phone, like Facebook, Instagram, whatever the nonsense is that they're consuming. They could just as easily have like a Kindle in their cargo pocket, and be crushing books that would very well prepare them for the next step.
Yeah, Kindle, physical copy book, whatever. Like, you definitely have. I mean, as a Lance Corporal, depending on your job, there is a pretty solid chance that you will have at least 1 hour every day where you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs waiting on something. Yeah. And so that's a lot of time to read. And then the other thing people can do, depending on where they live, like, I listen to Audible on my commute, so if you don't like reading, I still have to force myself to sit down and read a chapter a day of a book, unless it's a really good book. But very easy for me to find time to listen to Audible. Like, if I'm going on a run, I listen to a book. If I'm driving to work, I listen to a book. If I'm driving to dinner, I listen to a book. And you would be amazed, especially when you get to where I listen at like chipmunk speed, like 2.3 times. I crush some freaking Audible books. Yeah. Like, I get two books a month on the plan I'm on, and I don't know that a month goes by where I'm not buying an additional book or more. I've probably listened to like 50 or 60 books so far this year on Audible.
That's definitely something I miss about California, is ironically the long commutes and having that opportunity to really absorb some good information. So
yeah, you get podcasts. You can do. There's so much opportunity to just listen to education while you're driving. Yeah. And because you're choosing to listen to it, and it's something that benefits you directly, it doesn't feel like school. It's way better.
Yeah. If you choose to learn on your own what you're interested in now, then you might be able to skip that step of college and being told what you have to learn. So
yeah,
sometimes it takes being back in school to realize how much it sucks. So take it upon yourself to learn things you're interested in.
Self-education is definitely where it's at.
Definitely. So to circle back to your career and kind of wrap it up, because I know you've got some Ironman training to do and whatnot, but I go
test out my wetsuit in the Pacific.
There you go. Yeah, hopefully it holds up. But yeah. I know you've been around the world doing a number of things. What's your favorite spot that the Marine Corps sent you so far?
Yeah, I really liked Okinawa. But where I tried to go back to was Fuji. There's a staff sergeant job in Fuji, and I tried to land that as one of my last tours. So Fuji is mainland Japan, right at the base of Mount Fuji, about a $7 train ride from Tokyo.
Cool.
And yeah, I really liked it the 2 months I was out there. That being said, though, I mean, you can't beat Hawaii. Oahu it was expensive, but it was just such a great place. Like the culture. So I like both of those. They both similarly super friendly culture, super relaxed cultures on an island, like very, very just cool places to be. I definitely want to own a property in Hawaii at some point in life, and
go be neighbors with Beardy Brandon.
There you go. I was trying to find him a property.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get an idea. I like to kind of give some kind of idea what the polar opposites of experiences in the military can be. Like if you kind of give us an idea of like a worst day versus best day, so we can see what that spectrum looks like.
Well, I would say best day was, driving around in the desert in Afghanistan, shooting machine guns, and maybe not. That's probably not the best day. I've had a lot of like just good days for me, or out on the machine gun range, or even like a good hike followed by whatever. Like we did this thing called the infantry immersion training in Hawaii. I set it up for my platoon, and it's basically like we brought in actors, like paid actors, to like role players. So we literally brought in people who would play the part of a terrorist or a local in a bazaar or whatever. And we had a mount town, like a urban training town, and we would patrol through the town both in vehicle, and then we would do it again in on foot. And we had these role players, and some of them would be, harassing people, and some of them would be trying to get help, and some of them would be whatever. And then some of them somebody would pop up with an AK, and it was with blanks. And so you're literally like shooting, rounds at each other, or maybe an IED would go off, like they had to demo team. And so like a fake IED. So it was literally felt like you were, in a combat area. Yeah. This town is so crazy. They even have like a smell generator, so they could make it stink. Like I say that, like if you've ever been in Afghanistan, you know what I mean. But I mean, they could it was very realistic. So we spent a week out there doing this training, and that was a ton of fun for me. Like, It's like, you're getting to kick indoors, and you're like literally like coming into a room and shooting a gun at somebody with blanks, like point blank, and they're shooting back. I mean, it was Marines are getting startled, and super cool. Like shoot houses and stuff like that are fun. For me, worst day is like sitting in my windowless office with no cell phone all day, just being griped at because of paperwork. Yeah. Which is really not hard, but it's just not fun at all. But I mean, I've done, there've been days where it's like 3 a.m. to get ready for a hike, and then you're not coming home till 8 or 9 at night. And depending on what you're doing, some people think that's the worst day, but if you're enjoying what you're doing, like, I'm getting paid to hike with for some friends.
It's also noteworthy that like it's not like that happens every day. I mean, it might happen every day for like a week or two kind of thing, but they can't push you to that like level every day and not have everybody burn out. So yes, you're gonna have your down days in the office where you get to chill and like recover a bit. Like it might be miserable, but at least your body's recovering. And the other days, like you're pushing yourself pretty hard. So
and most people get weekends these days. Like there's not a whole lot of people who are doing crazy workups for deployments right now.
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. So just the spectrum that is available rather than having like, like you said, Groundhog Day at the office, day in, day out, where you just like melt.
Yeah, probably some of my most miserable experiences were on recruiting duty.
Dude, I've had a couple of recruiters on here, and I've never known the pain that is recruiting. I'm fortunate to not have gone through that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's different. It's super beneficial. I actually recommend it to everybody because you'll learn how to sell, you'll learn how to network, you'll learn how to speak in public, you'll learn how to be good with people, you'll make a bunch of great connections, especially if you can recruit in an area where you plan on going back to. Like, if you're good at it, you can meet the mayor, you can meet like in the market I'm going back to now, I know like superintendents and principals in all the schools. I know the mayor. I know like 2 or 3 of the local radio shows. I know like their main marketing guys. Like I've got some pretty sweet connections for what I want to do when I go back.
Yeah.
and I learned all these other great things. Now, was it a fun job? Most of the time, not so much, but you learn some super valuable skills. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, experience will kind of dictate where we go. You either find out what you don't want to do or you find out what you do want to do. Whether you hate the military or you love it, no matter what, it's going to direct you where you should or should not go. So
agreed.
But cool, man. Well, a lot of good insight, a lot of good stuff from you. So I appreciate you coming on. But for anybody that wants to learn more about using that VA loan or finances in the military, where can somebody find you?
Well, if you're looking for like VA loan or a realtor, it's from military2millionaire.com/VA-realtor, or it's on my resources page. But yeah, the easiest way to get a hold of me is at From Military to Millionaire on Instagram. I actually will talk back to people there. Communicate with people there. I probably talk back to people too, but so that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. Or we have a Facebook group, Military Millionaire Community, and it's got like 6,500 people in it or something like that. So
I'm part of both, so I'd recommend it.
Awesome. Sure. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Glad we actually got hooked up on Instagram because I posted saying, hey, I want to join some, who are some podcast hosts, and your podcast got like blasted throughout the comments. And I
had a couple people, I told a couple people to go tag me. So
I was like, this guy's smart. I like it.
Trying to figure it out, man. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but
no, that's a good strategy.
Trying to figure out what I can do. So yeah, man, Dave, I appreciate you coming on.
And I appreciate you having me.
Look forward to, witnessing your success through your branch moving forward.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Dave. I'll put his contact link in the description. He has a lot of good content and a lot of good information on how to get started with real estate and succeed there. But if you guys have not already subscribed to the podcast or followed me on Instagram, I'd really appreciate if you did that. It's the best way to get in touch with me is via Instagram, and would love to just kind of follow you on your journey through the military in whatever capacity you are pursuing it. I hope you guys enjoy the show, and we'll talk to you guys next time.